Hey there, welcome to the fourth episode of Under the Radar. In the previous episode, I covered the very first CD that I ever purchased from a local artist in my scene. And that was the very first, actual CD, like what you see behind me, where it had a silver backing on it. It was glass-mastered, manufactured in a plant and shrink-wrapped. It was so cool to see that somebody had done that. And this was around the time, actually, that CD burners were starting to kind of hit the market too. And in this case, this episode is about the very first CD-R that I ever purchased from a local band. And this one kind of ties right back in with the very first episode because the members of the band that I'm going to mention were in the Rebel Jedi. The lead guitarist from the Rebel Jedi, Todd Zalowski, and the bass player from Rebel Jedi, Tyler Wilde, had started a band. This was back in 1999. It was the summer of 99. I remember this very well. And I actually bumped into them because I used to actually go to Johnsburg High School for my first year of high school, and I knew them then. Todd was actually, he taught me my first scale on the guitar. Just a lot of respect for them, But I remember going to the high school to bring my best friend Aaron to registration, and I had just gotten my driver's license, and it was just a very cool time, and I bumped into both of them, and Todd had mentioned that they had started a new band, and he's like, it's just a rock and roll band, man, and I was like, cool. I was like, well, do you have an album? And he's like, yeah, we just released a CD. And Tyler told me that he had them at his house. So I was like, I know where Tyler lives. So drove over to Tyler Wilde's house. And I think I purchased it from his mom for, I want to say it was like $5. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I paid $5 for this thing. It was so cool because they had, it was cardboard or card stock, but it was all printed with their pictures on it. And they had all the info, the thank yous, everything, just so cool, their own artwork. And an even cooler thing was they had their own record label, which is called The Pirate Party. So this was the very first release on that little label. I actually have the very first, Supereighteen pin too that I had still under that tray. But yeah, they had a little catalog for Pirate Party. And, it was just a CD-R, no big deal. But I must have jammed this thing. I don't know how much I listened to this thing. I mean, I would jam this in my car all the time. But this was the time when, the only reference I had for this kind of music was, Weezer's Pinkerton and maybe Foo Fighters and Sunny Day, Mineral, things like that. Bands like Braid were around at the time, but I hadn't quite really delved into a lot of that music, except for, I would say, Pinkerton was the big one. And this was the closest thing I could relate to that. And so I would definitely say that this was an emo album. But it had some catchiness to it too. The very first track was called Fagin.
Turn me on like a switch, and you unwove the iron stitch, and sewed the iron bag over my heart for so long. You pick me up like caffeine.
Yeah, it was hooky. And, they actually recorded this at Randy Pascoe's studio when Randy was in a band called Charging Hoses from the area. A local musician had his own studio in his place. And they tracked it, I think, in a day or two or something like that. And walked out with 8 songs. Some of the songs were a little more raw than others as far as performance, as far as the vocals and whatnot. And so later on, they went and actually pressed this on a 4-way split with 4 other bands on an actual CD, but it was missing, I think it was missing 2 or 3 of the tracks from the 8-song EP. But this band was like really busy, and they were playing all over the place, just like Tyler and Todd's previous band did. And it was definitely the first CD that I ever listened to all the way through, like from front to back, and loved it. Black Coffee.
So back to Black Coffee. It might be my last for a while. Tomorrow I fight for my life. Or so it seems, but not at all.
Documented Thoughts of a Hopeless Romantic.
What if I asked you to walk through a winding tree forest to Old Meadow Pond? Would you leave your clothes by the shore along with your inhibitions as nature serenades?
Such jammers. I also should note that they covered a rad Elvis Costello song called Every Day I Write the Book.
Chapter 1, we didn't really get along. Chapter 2, I think I fell in love with you. You said you'd stand by me in the middle of chapter 3, but you were up to your old tricks in chapters 4, 5, and 6. And now I'm giving you a love book. Every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book.
But also to note, this band was the first band in our area that I knew of that actually went on tour. Not just played locally and regionally a lot, but they went out on like a full-blown tour, and that was kind of a big deal. It was like, whoa, they're moving. If you ever check out Motion City Soundtrack, has this fan page called MotionCityMemories.com, and they have every single past show archived by the fans with like photos and flyers and stuff, whatever they could find from each date. But must have been one of the very first, I would say, like 10 to 15 Motion City shows. Supereighteen played with them when they were nobody. Played with 504 Plan, Haymarket Riot, Slackjaw, Pegboy. And they ended up introducing me to a lot of different bands that I just never heard before, even locally. And it was, just very joyous memories of this band and their songs. Just one of the most influential bands to me in my area, as I was in my band Flying South, and then would later on start my band Midwest Blue. And, again, like it was so impactful to even the whole Pirate Party thing. And I'll be covering more Pirate Party releases as I go, which eventually became a label called Beat City Music. And as this story continues to unravel, you will hear more about that. But mad shout outs to these dudes. I love this CD. I love the songs on it. Feel free to leave some comments if you want about the first CDR that you ever picked up by a band, or a CDR that you put out of your band. This is just a cool time when you'd be crafty, and put together your own stuff. I'm going to be continuing to cover some more CDR releases, and then I'll be getting into more just straight CDs for a while of bands. Eventually I'll get into some more hi-fi recordings compared to what you are hearing. But these are the humble beginnings of where, again, my story started. In other news, Slave to Servant just dropped our single for the acoustic version of Power on iTunes and Spotify. Little videos out now here on the YouTube channel, and I'm really excited to release our cover of Buchanan Brothers' When You See Those Flying Saucers, which is a 1940s bluegrass tune that we kind of like punked out. So that'll be the first full band video that's coming out very shortly in March here. And I look forward to making another one of these episodes soon. Thank you for your time.